Rhythmic programming, and this basically covers the steps that are required to take a big problem and break it into really small steps that are easy to code with a programming language. They can be actually any day, everyday type activities: tying your shoe, making a sandwich, getting ready for school, what you do when you go home, opening a car door, whatever, that kind of stuff, where you're taking these problems and you're creating an algorithm, a way to solve it in steps. And the decomposition is just that process of breaking it into those small steps. So today what we're going to look at is a process called pseudocode. And pseudocode is looking at taking those steps that we did and then explaining them or describing them using plain English. So it makes it a lot more understandable to other people that are going to read the code, or people that are going to be working with that process and maybe helping break it down a little bit farther. So we kind of did pseudocode when we looked at the decomposition side of it, because that's taking a problem and then breaking it into steps. Our pseudocode and our examples here are going to start resembling the process of creating a program or something on the computer. So if I click on the pseudocode, it's pronounced pseudocode, not with a P. It's a silent P, kind of like pterodactyl. So it's a way of describing what a process will do in plain English, and it's important to use plain old everyday ordinary language to help people understand how the process works and what the program or the app is supposed to do. So my example here is to have a to-do list, something that's going to keep track of items that I need to complete or tasks that I need to complete. These apps are readily available all over the internet for your phone or for the computer. Google even has one built into its Gmail program. It's called the Tasks, and it's on the right-hand side of your computer. But to understand how these programs work, a lot of times a programmer, a coder, will take a problem or whatever they want it to do, and they will break it down into regular old, plain old English, and so, or whatever language they're working in. So in this case, what do I want this program to do? If I had a to-do list, and let's click on this really quick so I can see kind of what we're looking at. So here's a to-do, and I want to say I'm going to display this main screen. I'm going to give them an input box, someplace that they can type. And when a user types something, what do you want to get done today? Something. And presses enter, it should add that to a list. Something else. Sleep. So I have 3 things on my to-do list, and so every time the user is working on here and they type inside the box, I want it to automatically add that to a list. So I'm going through right now the verbal process or the explanation of what would happen on this app, and that's a type of pseudocode, and then you write it down and you come up with some ideas that way. So if I have an input box and all the input gets added up to a list here, I want to have the ability to do 2 different things. One, I want to be able to check it off. So I check that box, and now it's striked off, so that way I know that this one has been completed. And if I didn't want one of these, I want to give the user the ability to click an X or a red button that's going to make that one disappear. And it disappears completely. It does not exist anymore. I can't undo on here. I don't have an undo feature. So if I have to type it in again, I can't even type. Else. Oh my goodness. There we go. Something else. And I can do it that way. There's no way of rearranging in this app, but that might be something that would be kind of cool to be able to do, is sort them out into a priority list. But that's the basic structure of this. If I want to uncheck this one, I can uncheck it, and now it's an active item again. If I check it, now it's an inactive item. So I can go through there. That's kind of how a to-do list on the computer works. And so when we're looking at this, here's the explanation of what it does and what it needs to do in order to make it work in plain English. The user is going to open the app or the web page. They should click or tap into the input box. The user will use the keyboard to type an item. The user will press enter or return to add the item to the list. To check off a list item, the user is going to tap an open circle on the left-hand side to mark the item as done. To delete an item, the user should click or tap on the red X to delete it. And then the user will continue to add, delete, and check items as necessary. So that basically describes the whole process in English. It does not have any code. A pseudocode explanation of a program doesn't have any actually typed code or any written code. So it doesn't have anything that would resemble a computer programming language. So I want to make sure that anybody reads this. If I said this is a to-do list app, or maybe I don't even tell them. Maybe I say, I just hand them this list of 7 things, and they read through it, and they're like, oh, okay, this sounds like you're creating a checklist of some sort. And we'd say, yep, you're right. So the English here, the words here, every line would be a different process or a different step in that solving this problem of creating a to-do list. So we're not going to have multiple things on there. So each line is just one task that would happen inside that program. And so to break it down a little bit farther, on the programming end, what I would do is this list of 7, just so I know what I'm looking for. And I would say, as the app opens, display the title and a user input box. Focus on the input box. Allow user to input data. Wait for the return key press. Add user input to a list. Allow the user to select completed checkbox. Allow user to select delete item checkbox. So I have those 7 steps. Same thing as the other part of the code, but in this case, it is doing that process programmatically in the programming language. Makes it a little bit easier to understand. So, and then here is a quick flow chart for the same process. Sometimes when I create a program, or if I was going to do this one right here, I would use if statements. We haven't looked at those yet, but we will get into that logic. And we'd work through here and create a process that looks similar to this. And if somebody presses return, so the main will just wait there. And if anybody presses return, it was going to take that text or the input that's available, create a new list item, add the item to the end of the list, and then return to main. So this is breaking that pseudocode 7 steps down just a little bit farther. And this would be the process to create a new item. And we'll get into functions later and how those things work, and we could create a new function for this new item. If they click the done, the circle that says that they have completed that item, I would change it to the done list, which means that it would have a different process. It would make a line go through it, or make it disappear, or turn it green because it's done, something like that. And then I'd add the item to a done list. And in our example that I used just a minute ago, it just makes a line through it and checks it off. But I might actually have it do 2 different things, move it to a different list. Not that difficult in the programming language. So, and then if they press the delete key, it's going to change the status to deleted. And then it will remove it from all lists, and it would add it to a deleted list at the bottom. And I might hide the deleted list and hold on to those just so that if the user wanted to, they could get them back. But I would have them invisible to the user, but it would still be added to a different list, so that item would still be there and be able to be used at a later date. So pseudocode is just the process of explaining that step in English, kind of exactly what you want the program or whatever it is to do. And throughout the rest of the semester, we're going to create pseudocode for every project that we make, whether it's a difficult one or a super simple one. So we're going to practice writing pseudocode on the easy projects because it'll make it a lot easier when we're doing that on our later projects and our more complex projects. So the pseudocode will be simple, and it's important that we use that simple language, the initial stuff, to build up those skills and to make it easier to do that in the long run. So that's the overview. I click next. And the video is not going to run here. You can watch these two videos. They go back to my folder here. There's a pseudocode video that this is just the extra stuff that gets added in there. There are two videos that just explain what it is, kind of like I just did, and then how do you use it and what do you use it for. I think this video is about 10 minutes long, and the first part of it is about the pseudocode and the last part of it, but I can't split the video out and take out the stuff that we don't need, and so I just left it in there. And then how do you use it? This one's pretty good as well. And then once we get through that, there is a practice link down here. And so I have a Google Doc called A Day in the Life of a Student. There are 5 categories, and basically what I want you to do is click on that, and hopefully it's shared the right way so we can have access to it, and if it is not, then we'll make that happen. But I want you to read through the categories, these 5 categories, and you're going to create 2 steps that you would do in each of these different categories. And if you find somebody put a step like make breakfast, and you want to break it into 2 different steps, like get out milk and get out a bowl or something like that, you can break it down into a smaller step. So you're going to add at least 2 steps to each of these different 5 sections, and you're going to color and add your name to the end of the item that you added. So if I click on this, it should open up See, Cameron's already done some of his. Make sure you add on all the ends of those. Make sure you add your name to the end. So if I zoom in, so I can see it a little bit better. So wake up, get dressed, make lunch, and then if I wanted to add some other stuff to here, I could change it. I think I was using this color right there. Find leftovers, place into lunchbox. Okay, so that's that process. So you're going to do at least 2 things. You can do more. You can break it into smaller steps. Just make sure that you change the color and you add your name so we can see each person's different things. So that's the process for this Students' Day 1. It's just taking a problem or a process and breaking it into a number of different steps. So if you have any questions, let me know and I can answer them.